Hello everyone, this is the third video of this series. As we saw in the last video, we were able to install and configure the virtual machine with the CentOS 7 minimal operating system in order to get everything ready to install the IBM Domino server 9. So in this video we're going to do that process. The first important step is to, of course, copy the installation file for the Domino server to our virtual machine. As you can see in the part 3, this is the first step to copy the files to the directory that we created in the last video. So for this step, I'm going to use WinSSP SCP, which is a great tool. I really like this tool because I'm very used to the Windows environment. So this gives me, almost the same sense of as being, working in a Windows environment. So in the right side I have my virtual machine, and in the left side I have my computer. So if I look for the Domino's directory that I created in the last video, this is it, and I am going to copy the installation file for the Domino server 9. So this process is going to take a couple of minutes maybe. I'm going to fast forward this process. Okay, now we have the installation file in our virtual machine. So we're going to get back here. We're going to change to that specific directory where we have now the installation file. The next process is to decompress this file, so we're going to use the tar command. And that's going to decompress that file into that new directory called Linux 64. Okay, we're going to change to that new directory. We have a Domino directory inside, and then we have the install file. So as you remember, we previously installed Perl, which is a requirement to execute this type of files. So we're going to type /install, and the process is going to start in the console version. Of course, we haven't done anything in the graphic UI of CentOS. It's asking us if we want to continue the console mode. Yes, and yes. This is pretty straightforward process, but I'm going to walk you through this process. Okay, first of all, it's asking us if we want to, start the process. I'm going to press enter. As you can see, the number one is inside those brackets, so it's a default option. If we just press enter, it's like saying, yeah, I agree with the default option that you're displaying me. This is the license. You can press 1 to accept or 2 to decline. I'm going to press 1 and enter, and I'm going to press enter again. I want to install a normal IBM Domino server. I don't want to install it in a partitioned, environment. I'm going to select the default directory for the program files of the IBM Domino server, which is opt IBM Domino. Yes, I agree with that. No, this is not a partitioned, server, as I mentioned before. I want to install the databases in the local nodes data. As you remember, in one of the previous videos, we created the local directory. Okay, this is the part where you can specify the name of the group and the user that it's going to be used by the IBM Domino server. As I mentioned you before, it's still, trying to use the default name for this user as with the name nodes. But as you saw in the last video, we used the Domino name for the user and also for the group. Okay, this is kind of important because we're working on a console, version of this process, of this installation process, and I will really like this process to end in the listening mode because I'm going to be able to connect directly to the server to finalize the configuration process of the IBM Domino server using the tool that is a part of the installation of the Nodes client. So I'm going to choose the remote option here. Yes, with this option, the Domino installation process is going to end in a listening mode. So we can, connect directly to that virtual machine and finalize the configuration process. Uh, this is where you can select the option or in this case the type of configuration that you will really like to use for this Domino server. I'm going to select the option, the default option, the number 3, because I really would like to have a Domino Enterprise server running at this point. Okay, everything looks fine. All the options that I have entered are here for you to, to review it. Okay, and now the process of installing the software is going to begin. This specific procedure is going to take several minutes also. So as soon as it starts, I'm going to fast forward this process so you can see how it ends and what will be the next process in this next step for this tutorial. Hear you later. Okay, as you can see, the process has completed, and we are going to start the IBM Domino server in the listener mode. Okay, everything's ready here. Okay, we have completed this step and we have to get into the fifth step. which is we just install this software in the virtual machine, but we need to configure the IBM Domino server. For this process, we're going to use the remote server setup tool that is installed as a part of the client, the IBM Notes client. If you don't have this, you can, start the configuration process again and then select this option to be installed with your client. What this option does is, lets you configure a remote IBM Domino server from your PC. As you remember, we just have a CentOS minimal installed in the virtual machine, so we don't have any graphical interface at all. But in order to configure the IBM Domino server, we have this option. I'm going to point 107 to the server, and we're going to see a normal, graphical interface. Okay, I have used this option with other servers in the past, so we don't want anything to be, taken from those previous options. So we're going to start a fresh setup, a fresh Domino setup process. This is basically the same process that you do in a Windows environment. So the first point is, if you're installing a first Domino server in this new domain, as of course we are going to do in this tutorial, but you can choose to install a additional server to a previous and already existing domain. So the first step is to set a name for this new server. I'm going to call this apps, and the title I'm going to use app server. The second part is, of course, we have to create a certificate for this new domain. So the organization name is going to be called ICS, and the certifier password, I'm going to use the same one. And the domain, it's going to be called ICS, the same name as the certifier that we have just created. Okay, for the Domino administrator user, I'm going to be using only administrator as the last name, which is basically all you need from the name. You can choose, of course, whatever you like. I'm going to set the same password for every user here. I have the option to save a copy of this ID here, but I think I have the option at the end where I can save all the IDs that this process is going to create. So I will choose next. I need to customize the services that are going to be used with this server. You can see that by default it selects some of these services, but as I'm not going to use any messaging functionality of the IBM Domino server at this point, I'm going to deselect everything that is related with mail services, and the most important service that I need right now is the HTTP server. You can choose to leave the DOLS Domino offline services selected. It's almost the same. If you're going to use the offline services, you can leave it selected here. And that's it, pretty much. I just need the HTTP server right now. And I'm going to select next. This is where this installation process of the IBM Domino server reads the configuration of the virtual machine. As you remember, when we were setting up the CentOS server, I used this name for the host, so I don't need to change anything here. Oh, with this name, you might actually, in this case, I'm going to do this. I'm going to add this host to my host file in my Windows PC in order to access this server using this name. I'm going to do that later. I'm going to select everything by default here. Okay, this is where I can, save all the IDs, but the most important file I need, it's the Domino admin. So I want to save this file. Okay, I have the option just to save this file in the virtual machine. I'm going to select this, and now I have the option to save them locally. And I'm going to select the directory that I'm currently using for everything related with this contest, and I'm going to save them here. Okay, I'm going to save all these three IDs in this location in my PC. I can review all the options that I just selected for this server, and everything looks fine. Everything it's normal here, and I'm going to set up this server. Okay, we just completed the configuration of the IBM Domino server, and we can finish this process. It will remind me if I want to stop the server with the listening option that we used previously used, and I'm going to select yes. This will automatically stop the IBM server. So as you can see now, everything stopped. The server stopped. I'm going to clear this screen, and to end this video, I'm going to show you how to manually start the IBM Domino server in a CentOS operating system. First of all, we need to move. First of all, as you remember, we have been working with the root user, but I need to change with the Domino user that we created for this IBM Domino server. So I'm going to input this command here as super user minus Domino, and I'm using right now, I'm logged in with the Domino user. And the second part is I have to move to the notes data directory, because if you checked, the most important file for this process is the notes ini. So I have to move to the directory where these notes ini is located. So it's basically always going to be in the notes data directory. From this directory, I can call the server file that is located in the other directory where the installation and the program files of the IBM Domino server were installed at the first place. So I'm going to press enter and the server is going to start. As this is the first time that this server is going to be, started, so it might take a little longer to finish this process because it has to check if it has, everything, all the databases it needs to operate, and it will create them. So it might take a little longer than normally. So it's nothing to worry about. It's normal. As you can see, it's creating some databases that it needs to operate. It hasn't finished this process yet. We just want to wait a couple more seconds to let the server, complete this initial startup process. And the way we're going to use to test if this server is okay, now it ended. The way that we're going to use to test if this server is running normally, as I told you before, we're going to do a little trick here. I'm going to run the notepad as an administrator because I need to open the host file in the Windows ATC drivers. Oh no, it's in the C drive. Windows System 32 drivers etc hosts. Okay, I'm going to use 192.168.0.107 ICS Domino Soft. I'm going to save this. Okay, and now we're going to do a little check. ICS dominosoft.com. Yeah, everything looks good. Going to exit, and I'm going to get to the Chrome browser, and I'm going to check if the HTTP is listening. Yep, there it is. Now you have a fully functional IBM Domino server running in a CentOS Minimal in a virtual machine. So with this, we conclude this video. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to basically configure everything in the IBM Domino server to support PHP and everything that you will need to try the application for the IBM Watson services. Thank you and see you later.